Okay, so good day class. So after specialized allied service, we're going to discuss now about the construction management services, which is SPP 204-B. So let's look into the manner providing services and qualifications. So it says here, the construction manager may be an individual or a firm. So the individual or the principal of the firm must be a state-regulated professional, preferably an architect, with managerial capabilities and extensive experience in the field of construction. So the architect must be a registered and licensed architect with an updated professional identification card and must be a member in good standing of the Integrated and Accredited Professional Organization of Architects, or the IAPOA. So what does this mean? So it just purely means that if you want to be a construction manager, you could either be an individual or a firm or a juridical entity. So you could represent you could either be a company or 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 a or an individual practicing professional, which is preferably an architect. So it states here that you should have extensive experience in the field of construction. What does this mean? Is that you should already have on your belt a wide range of experience in the field of construction. So specifically, you should have already experience in from start to finish of various building types, depending on the project that you're getting involved into. For example, if the project is a residential building, then as an architect, you should already have an experience with different types of residential buildings and should have handled the construction from start to finish. So it's really important that you have here extensive experience. So it's not written here that only experience is required, but extensive experience. Okay. Probably you should at least 5 years already in the field of construction. So I think that's the bare minimum. Okay, for me. Okay. So managerial capabilities also, it could be learned if you already have a lot of experience. And preferably if you have a master's degree in management or a doctorate in management, it would help also. Then architects or contractors or have been in charge of construction works are capable of becoming construction managers. Of course, this is a given because if you already have a lot of experience under your belt, then you're already capable of becoming construction manager. So what are the methods of compensation? So since construction management is not part of the regular services of the architect, the services rendered by the architect as a construction manager shall be separately compensated. So it means that since it's not part of the regular services, the services as a construction manager is to be paid off and compensated separately. So the compensation are based on the following methods. The first is the percentage of the project construction cost, which is what we also do with the regular services. Then multiple of direct personal expense. Then professional fee plus expenses. We also have a lump sum or fixed fee or a per dime honorarium plus reimbursable expense. And we could also do mixed methods of compensation. So it really depends on your agreement with the company or the owner how you're going to be paid if you're going to become a construction manager. So to motivate the construction manager to reduce acquisition and operating costs, the services of the construction manager can also be compensated using the construction management contracting concepts, which includes a wide range of incentive type contracts and provisions. So I think these are the different provisions. So during the initial stages of the project, incentive type contracts are appropriate. So when you say initial stages, so these are the early stages of the project. So there's two written here. The first one is award fee provisions. So the construction manager has the opportunity to obtain an award fee of a specified maximum size if the measured costs related values meet or exceed the specified target values. So that's the award fee provisions. The next is the price adjustment provisions. So the contract price is adjusted upward or downward in accordance with the prearranged formula. So the operating and support cost factor provision provides a direct incentive on operating and support cost. Then for the later stages of a project, contract types are used to encourage better construction management services. So if you're going to enter already on the later stages of the project, so these are um, the recommended um, and say the recommended what you call this fee provisions. So the preceding types of contracts for construction management services are used according to gross estimates and complexity of work. So it means that if a project becomes more complex, of course, the fee structure should be different. So we have a firm fixed price, of which the owner will pay the construction manager a fixed fee. The fee will be unaffected by variations between the estimates and the bids or by change orders during the construction phase unless the owner initiates an increase in scope. For the first one, it only means that even if there's variations in the estimates or there are change orders that happens, okay, unless there is a change in scope, your fee will not change. Hence, it is a firm fixed price. The next is the fixed price incentive. So in the fixed price incentive, the owner will pay the construction manager a fixed fee, which is adjusted according to the difference between the final allowable cost and the target cost. So the next is we have the cost plus incentive fee or CPIF or the cost plus adjusted fee. So cost reimbursement type contracts with provisions for a fee that is adjusted by sharing formulas applied to the difference between the final allowable cost and the target cost. And we also have the cost plus fixed fee. So the owner will pay the construction manager a fixed fee plus the reimbursement of certain expenses incurred in the performance of the basic services. Then, aside from that, since we could also do a percentage approach uh, for your fee as a construction manager, so we have here a recommended professional fee. So the services of the architect as a construction manager can be compensated by recommended professional fee, which is 1.5% to 3% of the project construction cost. So I think that's also a big what you call this, a decent amount of what you call this, a decent amount of money if you multiply it by 3%. Of course, only if it's you get the higher fee if it's if it gets more the project is complicated. Then you have here the manner of payment. So the architect may bill and be paid for the progress payments during the construction proportional to the percentage of progress of completion of the construction work. Should the work be not completed, the prorated recommended professional fee component shall be paid to the architect by the client. So in my own experience, guys, I think it's much better if you get paid according to the progress, because in that manner the client can also see that there's really improvement in the project, and for you also, you in terms of contract, you can get things more defined. For example, if you set a contract with the owner that you're going to be paid uh, this amount for this progress, so it is much easier to bill because you already have something that is measurable according to what is agreed upon. So it's easier for you to bill and get paid, especially if you're just new in the industry, you're just an architect with 5 years of experience, so it would really help you out. Okay. Then you have separate consultants. Um, I think this provision is present in everything that was discussed in the earlier SPPs or UEP documents. So should the client hire separately the services of the consultant, the fee of the consultant shall be on the account and paid by the client directly. So in such case, an additional compensation for the architect of record for coordinating and relating the work of the consultant to the work of the architect of record can be computed using time-based methods or percentage basis equivalent to 5% of the consultant's fee. So you could, if the client hires separate consultants, okay, you get a coordination fee of 5%. Then you have SPP document 205. So I guess I just discussed this. This is just short. You have the post-construction services. So there are two ways in you could engage the owner with the post-construction service. The first is that you are the architect of record and the consulting architect for post-construction service. The second is that you're only working as a consulting architect for post-construction services only, which means that in the first option, you are both the designer of the project and then you get also hired for the post-construction, which is already after the construction, hence post. And also, you, you did not, you are not involved in the design of the structure, but you get hired by the owner as a consulting architect for the post-construction services only. So it has uh, um, um, diverse methods of compensation also. So the architect performing the cost construction service or engage as the building administrator and or property manager can be compensated using the following methods. So the first is the value pricing or percentage of gross rentals, maintenance, and security fees. Okay, so this is just simple percentage. Second, this is the most common. You have the monthly salary or fee. The third is the multiple of direct personal expense. Then we have here the retainer plus reimbursable expenses. Then you have the professional fee plus expenses. So let's differentiate. I already discussed the first two. So when you say multiple of direct personal expense, um, you you bill the client according to your expenses of the project. Then you have a multiplier for that, which is agreed by both of you. So then the resulting would be your compensation. Then we have a retainer plus reimbursable expense. So in my experience, retainer means that the client pays you the fixed fee per month. Then if you have expenses that are reimbursable, that's on top of your fee already. Okay. Then you have professional fee plus expenses. So you get paid for a professional fee. Then if there's an additional expenses for the project, you get paid for that also. So when you say professional fee, that's something that's both that agreed by you and the client. So that would be your professional fee for the project. It could be in percentage or it could be a fixed amount. So it is quite flexible. So the methods of compensation, if you think about it, all throughout the SPPs, they're quite flexible. It just depends how much you get paid. Just depends on your experience, and of course, um, also your educational attainment, because you might have uh, a master's degree or a doctorate degree in management or construction management, and then you get paid higher. Okay? Or you could be a project manager, and then that has passed already the PMP exam, so you get paid higher. Then, if you look at the recommended professional fee, so the recommended professional fee based on the value pricing is from 4 to 6% of gross rental. So we're looking at that price range. So this incentive type of management fee will ensure more efficient and economical operation and maximize building revenues. Okay, so I think now you already discussed SPP Doc 205 and SPP Doc 204-B. So just remember, class, that if you want to engage in the services, you really need to increase your experience. So your apprenticeship is good. That's 2 years, but it's not enough. You have to experience different building types, and then you have to go to graduate school. That's my own thing. And then you really have to observe what's happening on the site so that you can make sound decisions someday when you are already engaged when you're already engaging in these types of services as an architect. Okay, so I think this is all for this week. I will post our activity in our Padlet link. So that should be enough. The activity should be enough to cover the whole duration of our class. So if you have any further questions or clarifications, feel free to message me anytime. Okay. So I'm always available. If just send a message, we could always meet. Okay. So stay safe, guys, and see you next meeting.